Okay, let's go. Um, Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is um, the next event in the frames of DATAS project, and I think we actually accidentally chose the date for this event, which coincided with very important um, commemoration day, I would say. It's a day of human rights that is observed all over the world. And it's really important day for Izolyatsiya Foundation because for 5 years already, together with Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, we are doing the Izolyatsiya Must Speak campaign, which is dedicated to the fact that the premises of Izolyatsiya in Donetsk had been occupied by the Russian Federation and turned into illegal prison. So from 2014 all the way up until now, so basically 11 years, our former cultural center is used as a illegal place of detention and torture of people in our hometown. So this is day where we remind about this, and we are trying to bring as much attention as possible to this fact. And together with Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ukrainian Institute, we are spreading the word. And at the same time, it's really symbolic that we are going to talk about digital authoritarianism. I'm really sorry. And because of obviously the questions of human rights and use of technology are really close together, and it's something that is really important to observe and keep in mind how it works and what can happen to us all with misuse of technology. DATAS is the project that we are implementing with the support of Creative Europe program of European Commission. And it's implemented by the consortium that consists of Goethe Institute Czechia, a meat factory in Prague, Project Atoll in Slovenia and Ljubljana, and Tallinn Art Hall in Estonia in Tallinn. And this is a special project which consists of residencies, public events, pop-up exhibitions, and a final large exhibition in Prague next year that is dedicated to digital technology, personal data, and use of automation, data surveillance, big data, in especially in the region of Eastern Central Europe and Southern Caucasus. And because we have Southern Caucasus here, I really wanted to invite experts who can tell about what's going on there. And I'm really happy that we have Ilkin and Javid here with us. And also Ludmila Nechai, who is the curator of our local residency. So, Ludmila, I ask you to introduce our speakers today. And thank you so much for joining.
Yes, hello everybody, and yes, I'm happy to introduce our guest. Ilkin Huseynov is an artist, culture worker, and researcher based in Baku, and the co-founder of Salaam Art Temple, an independent community-run art space in Azerbaijan. He has recently begun a PhD on militarism and propaganda in Eastern Europe and the post-Soviet region, examining how data, systems, and surveillance layer onto older authoritarian habits. Working through the experimental research process, he used sound, video, AI tools, archive found materials, tapes, and field recordings to explore memory, constructed realities, and imposed images. Across studio, performance, and public programs, Huseynov leverages new media to foster cross-border dialogue and social and judged art. Yes, and Javid Aham is an exiled journalist, web developer, and digital researcher currently based in Warsaw, working at the intersection of code and civic inquiry. He explored how data shapes narratives in the South Caucasus. Javid is a founder of the LNKS, an AI-powered platform that used natural language processing to evaluate media bias and reliability in the Azerbaijani information space. A reporter for named Intelli News, he combines his background in computer science with investigative journalism to analyze media dynamics, digital censorship, and the sociology of the internet in Azerbaijani. Very welcome, and I pass the word to the Ilkin.
Hi, thank you so much. I hope everyone hearing me well. I will introduce you myself one more time. I'm Ilkin. I'm artist and researcher, and I'm from Baku, and I'm doing my PhD for now about militarism and propaganda. And big part of it, it's of course, it's surveillance and how we use the data in terms of propaganda in our region. So for me, that talk also was resonated very fast when Mikhailo proposed it to me with that. And today I want to talk more about something what we rarely don't talk in the spotlight, how authoritarianism is showing itself, not with the bombs, not with the tanks, not with other big movements in regional, but invisible and presentive infrastructural control of us. And I believe that we often don't think about authoritarianism as something. We always think about authoritarianism as something as loud, but yes, it is. It is sometimes loud, but in the beginning, when it starts to form it, we usually unseen it, and usually it's coming from the very deep, more effective people and the things which you carry actually in your pockets. I'm talking about the phones, about ideas, about your booking of making your taxes and making your appointment to doctors. That's actually some more serious information and the things which can be used against of you and in the first ways of surveillance. So I really want to concentrate on that part of the data and surveillance and how authoritarianism is showing himself in this sometimes invisible, sometimes shown, but we always have to understand and keep in our mind that surveillance in 90% of it is invisible. And our goal is what we're talking now here, to share our experiences and what we went through and also some examples. And I'm also like calling to everyone that most powerful things of the surveillance is that it's invisible. So let's make it visible in some way, and let's kind of highlight it, what it is. So we're going to try to do it on the example of Caucasus, but I think I choose the words and the methodologies which will be related to old post-Soviet countries and Eastern Europe, I believe. And with that, I want to start from Azerbaijan. It's from where I'm from, and that's where I can research it and where I can experience it. What is bad and good in some way from the first hand, and without any language barriers or other regional barriers. So I'm going to talk about more about that, and also Javid will join me to talk about his experiences, which is much wider than mine in that way. And just I want to highlight a few things, which is what partly so will help you to understand where we are now. So like from the surface, it's like very modern, efficient, let's say, futuristic digital place, with all the public services slowly moving to the digitalization is actually very convenient, and like bank systems very digitalized. We can be envy to like this, some European or American banks can be envy to our digitalization system, how we can easily share the funds to each other and all this stuff. But it's come with a cost because in our cases with Azerbaijan, Javed will agree with me that we don't talk about the control of internet, or in other cases, we're talking about the state becoming the internet. So all the providers, all the apps which is connected with the governmental institutions, which is essential for you to check in any moments, and some of them I will tell you later about them, which is requiring you all the time, like Face ID and other stuff. It's requiring you to share all the information. So it's like on the surface we read like Azerbaijani laws, and also in general constitution is written beautifully, and and about a law of data protection and the data protection and digital regulations. There is a lot of cases which is written very nicely, but there's a big blank about national security, how the national security ex-KGB or now M10 is called, can use your information, or other entities can use your information in the courts or sometimes. So there was for a while a lot of cases which has happened in the history of modern history of Azerbaijan. All the crackdowns which we see it, which was always not really happened. Crackdowns which we saw it on the surface, but what is we didn't see on the surface was this big blackmailing campaign, big surveillance campaign, which is related to the negotiation with some human rights organization, with some media organization, with other organizations. It's only crackdown when we see crackdown is when this politics of the and then it didn't go well, so it's failed in some way. So it's become there's no other way. They're like trying to stand for themselves. So there's only way to imprison them. So when we talk about crackdowns, it's not really good data for us to think about the surveillance and how it's happened. So I know like those in of organization who just faced very big repressions towards them, towards their family, towards their co-workers, and etc. When they had this illegally surveilled materials in their hand by authorities. And one of these examples I can give is after a couple of years of the blackmailing, of doing all the stuff in 2025. Abzas Media was one of the examples of the big repression, where there's more than 7 journalists arrested, and there was given 7 to 9 years of imprisonment. And that's sadly not only one example. In 2025, more than, I think, 20 to 25 journalists is imprisoned, just media and journalist workers I'm talking about, not the cultural workers, not those. And there was hundreds and hundreds those who was repressed, but we never knew about that, because the goal of suspending the voices, of changing the way of thinking, they changing the way of working, is succeed. And that's the most dangerous part of the surveillance, that is unseen, and we cannot experience, and we cannot see it until there's imprisoned people. But imprisoned people, those who survived. And here I want to give some words to the Javid to also share his experience of being here and be also an exiled journalist and researcher now.
Thanks, Ilkin, and thanks also for inviting me to this webinar. And as I said, I'm an exiled journalist right now based in Warsaw, Poland. And unlike Ilkin, my experience is not theoretical, but very practical. And the reason that I'm right now in Warsaw, and I've started journalism actually very late, right after the war in Karabakh between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and when that's how I got introduced to other activists, peace activists, and other journalists from both sides. And this kind of made me interconnected with all these some pro-war people and some pro-peace people, academicians and other journalists. And for a while, during the war, we have seen an increased rate of witch hunt in social media that because during the war in 2023, 2020, sorry, President Ilham Aliyev started to post tons of tweets, and this made Azerbaijani people to come to Twitter. Now it is X. Ironic thing was that during that time, internet in Azerbaijan was slowed down. And I was living in Turkey back then for my university. The ironic thing is other media outside, foreign media, Al Jazeera and other universities, they started to contact me to get to know what's going on in Azerbaijan. This is the level of censorship that Azerbaijani people faced. I was in another webinar like this organized by University of Penn, and there was an Armenian member too who was in the webinar. And unlike me, she was in Karabakh, she was in Pankandi or Stepanakert in Armenian. Right now, like she was talking under the bombs, and her internet connection was better than mine. And this shows how the level of control was in the Azerbaijani government, that you try to promote your own voice, you try to promote your own view, but at the same time, you also have to limit the level of connection to outside of the world, just in case some voice gets out. And this is also the time when Azerbaijan closed down the land borders. Right now, since 2020, due to COVID, Azerbaijanis are not able to leave land borders to just next to Georgia. So this goes beyond the level of digital authoritarianism. This is also real in real life prison. And coming back to my experience, I did not really expect it, but I was very hopeful actually. In 2024, I've just like Ilkin, I tried to go to Baltics for university, to Lithuania, and I actually had a very successful donation campaign because I had no money to study there. But my hopes were cut in between. Just few days later than Behruz Samadov, who was a peace activist, was arrested, I was also detained on the border and by state security service. It is the service that Ilkin mentioned, but with a former name. He said MTN. In Azerbaijan, it is now DTX, but in English, it is SSS. very peculiar name. And I was questioned for 12 hours. It was all because of one single photo with him in a pub, Bahru Samadov. And reason the reason because I was detained, because they installed a spyware on his phone, and when like he wanted to take a photo with me, last photo of him was with me. So by logic, they thought that I'm very connected to him and you are his close contact. That's what they said. And after releasing me, I found out that same spyware was also installed on my phone. It was called system settings. It was to be designed to show up as some system Android application of your phone, but it had access and permissions to every aspect of your phone. It would have screenshotted your screen from every now and then, and would record your voice whenever you had a call with someone, and pretty much had access to your location all the time, whom you are texting, whom you are talking to. And I found out only because I found about this spyware only because they have installed the same spyware on Belarus. And he himself found very late about it, posted on some common chat group that, hey guys, I found an application. Do you know what is this? Actually, I should have known that my fate was sealed when that screenshot posted. Anyway, I was put under a travel ban, and I got stalked, and they would have followed me on my GPS location, and that spyware application forced the phone to be always on, to be on battery saving mode, and to be always connected to the internet. When it did not connect to internet, it saved the files locally in an encrypted zip folder, zip file, so that I would not open it, and it would be directly uploaded to SSS servers that they would be decrypted. So only thing I got access to was to my voice messages, and first voice message there was the recording of the SSS officer in order to test the spyware's capability. And he was just murmuring, like singing some, mumbling some traditional song. And I thought it was a good, very good art piece to share online. So I did. It was very interesting. And they kept following me and texting me, tried to recruit me from British numbers. And I had to bitch and lie to them a lot. And what I did understand that authoritarianism, that big brother watching you vibes, it was not only about me. I was used as a signal, in a sense that as soon as I was detained, all my best friends, all my close friends, they have cut contacts with me and did not talk to me anymore. And they were like 15-year-long friendship we had. And when they saw me on streets, they did not even look at me, did not even say hello to me. And only friends I had were the people who were living abroad. And I came to understand that the reason that they cut connection with me was because they were afraid to be stalked themselves. So this surveillance was not only with devices, I would explain this in terms of maybe Michel Foucault's panopticon, that is the digital panopticon, that even there's no one is looking at you, you have to assume that someone is looking at you. So that's how you behave yourself. And this is what happens to the rest of the people in the same case. They did not talk, they did not came forward, they did not share experiences. So I had to do what was possible, and I just did what I always done: do journalism, to talk about other arrests and surveillance and other injustice, because that's how you stay sane and that's how you fight back, just living on your life. Sorry if it was a bit depressive, but I think I can stop here for the moment.
Thank you, Javed. It was not depressive. I think it was like open eyes for all of us to understand what is the fear is, and how the fears can affect us, and how it can affect not only us but we're kind of immune a bit, like as a cultural workers, as an activist, as a people of journalists, we're a bit immune of the fear, and we kind of know where we're going to. But when the fear is going to the family, to relatives, to the friends, to other things which we cannot control, that's when it's getting more complicated. Then when it's getting out of our responsibility, and what is actually a very nice example of that's the KGB methods are still not dead. The same methodologies actually was used in Soviet time and used now. You're no one if you're out of community. If you're no one, you're out of family. You're no one, you're out of whatever what we're building on. That's primarily actually goal, what is happening in Azerbaijan mainly, and also in Caucasus, and places where the family values and other things are primarily, it's very high. And it's like I can share a bit of the other research what I'm doing about propaganda. Was doing research. What is the ways of people can say no to their sons or their daughters in the Caucasus, in Azerbaijan especially. And then I was researching, like, it's not that like you will go and kill someone, or even like being, I'm sorry, being pedophile or something. It's only two ways. It's like you're from kind of other political ideology, whereas all your family is getting involved or getting affected by that, or you're queer, or you're gay or queer, or so that's the two things. This can be you can be exiled from the family, not other very obvious reasons. So that's also making me to think about that's your case, Jav. It's like that's very, very true in that way. That, and it's very painful in a way also. I know. Um,
I would
So-
also add, sorry, I would also add that the other people who were like in the same case, this was the exact reason that they did not go forward. And when our testimonies were recorded, like were released, I looked up our testimonies, and everyone's testimonies were falsified. Like they made me as someone, made me look like I'm talking against, testified against Belarus. The exact sentence was there that as if I said that I have read Belarus, writing a statement that Khojaly massacre was done by Azerbaijanis, not Armenians. If you are knowledgeable about Karabakh War, Khojaly massacre is a big taboo. in Azerbaijani society, and Azerbaijani government had done this Justice for Jalal campaign for years. Millions have reported that, and already one journalist was Einullah Fethullah was arrested for a statement like this. So I've seen that other witnesses were forced to say stuff like this against him. And since Behruz does not have access to these statements, does not have access to us to talk to them directly, he had to read and accept the government's version of our testimonies. That's why he was very upset that he thought that I testified against him. He thought that I blamed him for everything, and not only about me. And I found about this very late and had to write a long letter to him. So this isolates everyone, that this situation, the government control, being in control of narrative is the key here.
That's true to say. The regime is trying to polarize even the left down opposition, left down activists, left down cultural spaces towards each other by working, not working, going to the deals with them. And also, like, deals are mainly based on the surveillance material, based on the blackmailings. So why we're like really highlighting those things is very first step of the repression, always done invisible. Like, because this whole idea of the KGB M10, as I said, what you say now, David, first time hearing, but it's keep it in secret, keep it under the ground. So that's the kind of things which is more or less showing what we are now. Javed, you don't have anything to add maybe about Azerbaijan? We're going to come back to the maybe troll farm later with example of other countries.
Well,
But maybe we'll go to the maybe a bit talking about Georgia and Armenia, if you're okay with that.
sure. The floor is yours.
Oh, nice. It's also what we have to understand about Caucasus. We have like very close to each other countries, but somehow in some magic way, we created very different political regimes, and they have something similar, of course, but they are fundamentally a difference from our history actually of developing rather than what they want to be. They want to be something, I think, all of them, if we exclude maybe Armenia for now, but the history of the creating it was different. So we need to look at it from that perspective as well. So if I'm thinking about Azerbaijan, for me, it's more or less like some kind of very close fortress, like where you cannot really come in and do anything, blah blah blah. But like when we talk about Georgia, there is a lot of things what is going on. Also, what was in Azerbaijan is everything mainly going on from within the country, like all the surveillance. But in Georgia, it's happening also within, but also from outside. So it's very hybrid surveillance and also misinformation happening all over Georgia in past years for sure. And it was happening all the time, but now we're very much seeing, because there is some resistance towards that with some protests. So now we can visually see the surveillance which is happening for years and how it's came out to the actual political fight and discourse. So we can see, I mean, I was trying to build this talk towards very nowadays topics. I can go through like this history for a long time, but I thought like let's talk about like what is happening now and here, also about Azerbaijan, also about Georgia and Armenia, to not to go and because things are politically also very much changing with the time in all our countries. So that shift, it's very visible. So what I believe it's what happened in Georgia in past years. It was this main protests against um, uh, Russian foreign law. They call it, but I believe this is law. It's existed all around the Caucasus in Azerbaijan from 2003, as you know, as a law to have some foreign monies you have to always declare, and there is a 90% of them is in the blacklist. So it's not really Russian law, I believe, but this is law which is kind of authoritarian regime is coming when they feel it that this they're losing control from the cultural organization, from the civil rights organization. They're getting founded by some other organization and they're getting educated, and there's another generation is born from that. In first generation, they never touch it, in my experience in history, because it's not much like effect. But in the third and next generation, and probably you guys, some of you experience in Ukraine, that also they started to take it seriously because it's becoming some political movement or something. People getting more information, more education about the leadership, about how to make campaigns, how to make political parties, and blah blah. Coming out from this 90 years of the not knowing it. And what happened in Georgia is happened the same. Was different from Azerbaijan. They let it happen. This all the NGOs was freely advocating in Georgia, and not only not only for Georgians, but it was the point where Armenians and Azerbaijanis all was coming together as a place where we can have these workshops, leadership programs, other programs, which is organized by different NGOs to make this democratic process stronger, or any discourse for peace happening in the regions for years. And that's kind of brought his own people and his own thinkers in the field of all the politicians. And then the state start to affect and start to react to that. And also not only state, but also Russia. The big brother is always there, who is always taking control that nothing much changed in the region, because always the big risk for them when they see something change in the region. So that says there was the big protest, I think you all know, in last few years in Georgia, but is also corresponded with a lot of arrests, which was not just arrest, but there was some press and some NGOs that was saying that almost 80% of the arrest from the protest was happened by AI surveillance cameras, which is face recognizing the people, and that's how they recognize who was in the protest. And that's how also they start to fight towards that by blocking face masks and other ways to close your identification. And there's huge actually fine for getting cut on the protest. It's like almost 5,000 gel from now, I think. And sometimes it's for 5 years of the prison. And some people and some activists, also some immigrants activists also is towards to them. There's a lot of repression happening. Russian immigrants who is in Georgia now, who's run away from the also Ukrainian. There's some converted Ukrainian immigrants who is now in Ukraine for some different reasons, who facing different crackdowns towards the inside of the protests and in like just protesting against the war. So that happens a lot, but there's also a lot of troll companies which is started in 2003, but it started to recognize in 2003 where this big Russian-based or Russian founded oligarchs-based troll companies was doing actually tremendous work in Georgia for discrimination and also for following the Russian immigrants who is moved to Georgia. So that was some case for some time, and I believe it's now it's getting more serious in the in a way because there's some grassroots mobilization in terms of the because of this media platforms are still existing very strongly in Georgia, and they can still fight back of disinformation and other stuff because they're still not in majority because of the years of different political systems was active in Georgia. They kind of created a bit more strongholds towards this propaganda. So it's for me the Georgian actually propaganda very very closely reminded me to American way of the two-party propaganda how it's happening. I don't know, like it's just the parallels what I'm having in my mind how this works, but for me to just express it for a bigger audience to understand it how it works, it's really like two-sided propaganda, and it's very polarizing propaganda, and it's happening towards the working class, and there's youth and youngsters and people who is also in trouble in this all understanding, but still there is a big differentiation in the ages, and also occupation and other social classes. So that's very very much reminding me cases of USA and what's happening in America. Jeff, maybe you want to something to add?
Well, I guess you mentioned the troll farms. Well, I do not have much experience in Georgia or Armenian context, but I've seen myself a troll farm in Azerbaijan, and I've categorizing. I would categorize them into two. How the troll farms come to being. There are two types of troll farms, and one of them is usually voluntary, but both members of these troll farms are usually the students. And voluntary troll farms are organized by rectors of universities or mostly or the deans of universities. They give these orders to the students in return of maybe getting good grades or getting a bad exam grade and or a good credit in hopes of getting noticed by the government authorities. So they are doing it completely without supervision and without any extra orders. They just do it for the love of the game and in hopes of being noticed by the government so that someone says, hey, good job, I have some more task for you. They expect that, but they rarely get it. The other one are the run by the governments, and most like biggest part of this troll farm. Their official name is Youth Wing of New Azerbaijan Party. New Azerbaijan Party is the governing party of Azerbaijan. So it's the young wing. But there are these WhatsApp groups, and whenever there is like news about arrest of Abzas media journalists or like Meydan TV, they are ordered to swarm there and write tons of spam comments. Like they are not even, nobody takes them seriously, like at this point, they are not as persuasive as their Russian counterparts. So nobody buys it, but there's like 800 comments, and under this flood of comments, you might miss some more important details, or like someone tries to add a valuable contribution to the discussion. It's only spamming at this point. And I myself saw one of these troll farms, and it was a private company actually, but they were very government connected people, and their motivation was only making money, and government pays well, and it does not always. Sometimes other government institutions can hire these guys, and most of the hiring institution is the police, the internal affairs ministry, and they are not even like getting good money for it, but it is nice for a student, and this is why they do not write under their own name. This is why they do not use their own photos. They use these AI generated images, or some images from like this person does not exist.com. They just put it on there and use generic Azerbaijani name Aytan Aliyeva or like someone else. And it's usually Facebook profiles, not Facebook pages, not profiles, because from one profile you can administrate 100 pages. So it does not really take a lot of effort, and you can just switch out. And there are lots of Chinese tools for that usually. Uh, this is this is how troll farms work in Azerbaijan. It is very ineffective. It is just at that point another form of corruption.
Yeah, I believe, but as you say, ineffective.
Ineffective in a way that they do not have the ability to sway the opinion of people. At least that's what I would like to think, because when you think about Russian disinformation campaign in X or other places, they write in English and they use coherent sentence even if it is manipulation or disinformation, they write their own stuff, so that they could appear as authentic. But in Azerbaijan, they are given a sample text and they are told that use this part, and they are free to copy paste as long as they are spamming. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't go internationally very well, and that's why, like, if you see this international warfares, what we have sometimes, we always lose. But locally, I believe it works very good because it's the still very small country, and it's easier to target them. It's easier to pay suggested like advertisement on the Facebook and Instagram, which is accepting propaganda very well, and in whatever years of the criticism they getting with the better thinking about this, they still don't. So it's misinformation is spreading very fast, and if they want to push some ideas, even you will be in another side of the information things, and they will know that you're not agree with this situation. You will see a lot, which is like in Europe or USA, if we doesn't get to another site information point and another site algorithms, we don't get information about something against. But here we get all of that. So and it's pushed in in different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this brings us to the media law in Azerbaijan, that all the media in right now, effectively, all the media in Azerbaijan is controlled by the presidential administration. So whatever news you are seeing in Azerbaijan, coming out from Azerbaijan, in Azerbaijani or English or Russian, if it is not coming from a verified, like authentic, independent journalists, is 95% possibility it is a propaganda ordered by the presidential administration. Because like I was just having a coffee like with a friend of mine in a pub, in a cafe shop, and uh, my dad called and he was very terrified. He said that like, have you seen that news piece about yourself? And I was like, what? One of these propaganda, pro-government media organizations uh, made like a more than 10 minutes long documentary about Behruz Samadov, and there is only one sentence about me. But this one sentence was enough for my father to get freaked out. And then I get some hate mails. It was enough for them to change the narrative that luckily I'm popular enough on social media. Otherwise, I would have been labeled too. But it was, yeah, really eye opening. And I actually confronted the SSS about that video piece. And he told me that, we are not in charge of everything, which makes you think, if they are not in charge of everything, who is?
Yep. Yeah, that's it. I think that we can come to back. We can go to Armenia for now, and that's the country which me and Javid we closed most, because we have uh, we have this wall as a border, but also in conflict for so many years, and that's also changing the perspective and the way what we can tell and what we can say about each other, and that's is created for years and years of the propaganda and the traumas and the war, and I I'm sure some of you understand me very good in that terms, but that's making it huge wall to talk about a lot of things which is sensitive, which is need to be talked, which is need to be discussed, but which is not. Um, like Armenia, even saying me and as Azerbaijani is probably a very big risk. That it's most of in terms of internet, it's most free country from on the Caucasus, I will say. But it's still disinformation as works in most free countries, as I was a bit showing the examples of the US and the Georgia, some ideas of this, the parallels. It's still very much sensitive to the propaganda, sensitive to misinformation. And in Armenia, what I feel is actually for the last couple of years, the propaganda, and because of the opposition, is kind of a bit dead and is a bit not functional much more for last years, as the propaganda is coming from outside. And that's also bringing us to the idea that this surveillance thing is not always it's we need to take care of our country, but it's always threat from outside. It can be a threat of outside, and usually it is. and we're lucky that it is. Then we don't have to much care about our own surveillance. But it's what happening in Armenia a lot for last years, with the ideas that this moving towards EU, towards making a good relationship and making bad relationship actually with Russia is more important than making any good relationship. That is kind of highlighted a lot in the media, and it's highlighted a lot in the other self-made opposition parties, which is kind of trying to be there. And to be honest, probably can say that for last couple of years, what I was researching the internet surveillance and the phone surveillance, biggest scandal in the Armenian scene was the connected with the Pegasus program, which is the Javid was discussing before, which he experienced. I don't know if it was Pegasus also, Javid, or I'm mistaken.
I'm not really sure because it was called system settings, but it might,
But
like those
in general,
spyware programs act same.
yeah. In general, it was example like it was. There's no normal data about, but from my experience, what I'm personally know is more than 20 people. What I'm personally know was addicted by this program, and this was Javid was explaining like it was can control on all other devices. What I'm talking about this now because Armenian devices was by fact provided by Azerbaijani state by a spyware which is bought from private company, a little bit private company of Israeli private company, which is not really private, but let's say private, and is sold out towards to all the dictators all around the world and all the stuff. And some even states used against other states, and there's no way that with that fact. So there's a couple of cases at this is a fact that this happened. Um, that's this Israeli company doesn't know about that. There's no way that it cannot track what they tracking system tracking on. So that's is very, very questionable system, which is sold by a huge multi-million company, which is also founded partly by US and partly by the state, which is kind of fighting with this surveillance around the world. So I want to come back to this like rolling coast of this technologies, which is not coming usually from the countries which is come from, but is coming from adaptation of the systems, of the ideologies, of the ways how it's done in bigger imperial systems, which is done before us. So so that's all what I want to say around our three countries. I can like kind of talk a bit more about what we can do against of that, but more or less it's that it. Joe, do you want to add something maybe?
Yeah, on Armenian context, I would add that as you have mentioned that they don't have much internal surveillance, but outside surveillance. And I would say that a friend of mine who is British, he likes this drone photography, videography, and often visits Azerbaijani cemeteries, Azerbaijani villages that is forgotten. And he's most of the time questioned by the Russian border guards. Like, what are you doing here? Are you a spy or someone? And he has to explain his motives all the time. And it shows that, like, even when you try to make peace without government approval between communities by showing their like heritage in other side of the border, even if you are like, this guy is not Armenian or Azerbaijani at all, but he is still subject to surveillance. And every time he comes to Armenia, he's being questioned. And every time he tries to leave Armenia, he's being questioned, like for half an hour at least. This shows that Armenia has realized some problems with its NSS National Security Service, that if you haven't figured out who this guy is by now, maybe you need to hire better guys or implement better policies.
Yeah, we have some like we talked with Javi that we're gonna prepare some bits of some tools or some suggestions which you can be a bit more safe in our times. And just for the basic one, probably a lot of people they know about that, but just to remind it one more time. But before that, I want to say just that what we're experiencing just now, it's information. It's like isolation of information, or it's disinformation, or how we use information towards nations, and it only can work in isolation. If we broke this isolation and we're kind of be more talk about the awareness, like I don't know, solidarity, responsibility. That also we don't have any. Javed, if I'm not mistaken, there's no independent media left in Azerbaijan, right? For last year, right? There's nothing. And then like we need other media groups like around the places to come and try to report here, because there's no, or like just a basic example of the what I'm saying, like this because the truth, it's hard to kill it, but it's easy to silence it. So I'm just also calling for everyone in our region to, be with us in this challenge, and because none of us can happen without if we all participate in the way.
Yes, I would even add that there are lots of Western eyes on Armenia and Georgia, but less eyes on Azerbaijan. We are on radar less, despite that Azerbaijan, as you have said, we don't have independent media anymore. Last of the independent journalist, Ulviye Ali, was arrested in this year in May 7 on my birthday. So she has been in jail ever since in connection with Meydan TV case, that outlet she did not work for. And we are trying to campaign for her, but it's not one person, it's not two person, it is more than 25. And in addition to journalists, there are activists, and there was in Warsaw, there was Human Dimension, OSCE's Human Dimension program meeting, and we have met some Western lawmakers, European lawmakers, and they told us that when we meet Azerbaijani side, when we meet the Azerbaijan authorities, and when we raise the issue of journalists, they just leave the scene, they just leave the room. And even like when there's even an ombudsman, the Azerbaijan ombudsman, who's also very pro-government, wife of an MP, when she brings out a list for pardon on Aliyev's, in front of Aliyev. Aliyev looks at the list and says that, is that a journalist? Remove him. He says that all these journalists will just serve their sentences to the minute. This is how government is so paranoid about the media right now. So that's why we need a lot of support. Okay, there are protests in Georgia, Armenia have their diaspora, but we don't have no one. So yeah, that's it.
Anna. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Javid. Yeah, and like some tools will be like very, very banal, but I believe like they're as much as the banal. I believe most of us they still don't use it and they still don't consider it as something primary. I mean, digital hygiene, it's the most important what I can suggest in general. It's like to be as less as everywhere if it's not your academic information or something else which you want to share. It's less of your biometric information, as less of your other, as less on this apps of the smart city or smart whatever biometric things, which is making your life maybe 1 second faster, but much more dangerous in the way that your 3D of your face is everywhere already and owned by a state, and also encrypted tools as Signal and then emails and other stuff, which is a lot of things. But the most things what I can say you as a documentarist and as an artist is documentation. Is documentation which they trying to erase us from, also from journalists, and what they first did do, as the example was Abbas Media and Maidan TV and other places and other artists and other cultural places where they want to kill the data. They want to kill the website. They want to kill all the information. They want to kill all the research and all the stuff, because that's the what they're afraid of, the truth. And that's what we need to protect the most. And that's the not only archiving, but also protecting the archive in a way, and experiences as well, that we can come back to that, and we can reflect to it, and we can see that what is went wrong, and what we can do better in the way. That's very important. I
I
think
would
that
add something to this documenting part, because SSS, the presidential website, in November 21 released the law, some framework for SSS to surveil on Azerbaijani people. This
Yeah.
new framework was deleted like 20 minutes later from the website, but I managed to archive it, and it is huge. It gives the SSS a central dashboard that they would be able to look at your data from birth to death, literally medical data, and your parents, let's say, pensions, social funds, how much money they get, where they worked, which countries have you visited, where did you come from, when did you enter, like before that, you might say that, oh, Azerbaijan, was already dictatorship. They were already knew this. Before that, it took some time to get this information from the police, from the border guards. It was pretty decentralized, and this gave people some freedom. I would tell my cousin to buy a phone, and it would not be under my name, so it would be less traceable. But now they can connect everyone in minutes, because now they have the ability to surveil you. They can easily get the GPS data or the network data. So there are some, but still there are some tools that we could use against that. The latest, most popular one in for the communication is the Meshtastic network, that is off the grid and decentralized network, and it is wireless. So in order to like explain it best, I would say that think of radio, that old Soviet radios that our grandparents used to listen to, Radio Liberty or like BBC, like I don't know, some Iranian radio shows. So, but think of it for personal communication. So it is very untraceable and very hard to decrypt. and it uses different kinds of modicum for connection. So it is one of the best use cases for modern digital communication. So like it's not like you are using 80s technology, but something based on that, but very modern. And as Ilkin said, the digital hygiene is very important. This means that you use VPNs, or even when you use VPNs, you use browsers like Brave that do not track you, or like Firefox browser, for if you don't want to get technical, is also better because it puts Facebook and other social media websites that track you off the grid. It can isolate, and this would be very technical. But if you are that paranoid to be followed, you can use one of the Linux distributions for your computer, like Ubuntu, Fedora, Linux Mint, instead of Windows, because Windows right now, someone's computer, they are right now screenshotting. It has this feature, screenshotting, and can recall when it is required by the legal, like lawyers, like authorities, etc. And I myself prefer Signal when it comes to conversation. Even on Telegram, it's you have to buy this premium version in order to get actual end-to-end communication, encryption that you can delete it yourself later. For example, there are lots of tools. If you like, simple Google search usually helps that. I would also caution that I know that most of the people use ChatGPT these days, Claude or other AI chatbots, and I've seen that most of the people tell their personal stories, or like personal documents. And I want to caution you that these chatbots, these LLMs, store your data. Some 1 month, some little. Facebook's Meta AI, it actually stores all your chat communication, Facebook Messenger, and right now, it came to WhatsApp, and you cannot disable it. It means that Meta AI is training its data on your personal communication, talking to your girlfriend, or like a journalist or someone else. You need to be very careful on that matter. It is ironic because back in the 90s, everyone in the forums, or like not 90s, but 2000s, early 2000s, everyone was using nicknames on forums and avatars. It was the norm. After the social media came, everyone started using their own names, own photos, even submitted their uh, passports and IDs to be verified to get the blue tick. Now it is reversing. Now we are returning back to 2000s, have to return to 2000s. We have to now use nicknames and avatars, anime profile pictures, and stuff like that to stay safe. That is the reality. It's only because people like us cannot afford us, because that's how we make money. But for the rest of you guys, these are the best tools to stay safe on social media and overall internet.
Ilkin, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Jared. And I think like I can finish a bit like with a wider words about digital authoritarianism, how I understand it, like how I understand it also today from our talk. is a lot about technology, but it's not all about the cables, servers, and codes, and the phones and all the stuff. But it's more about the psychology. It's about consent, which we're giving, and it's about how we're normalizing the technology, which is surviving us. Like in experience with Azerbaijan, like we're accepting the technologies, which is making our photos every 2 days, every 30 minutes. I was saying okay to that. I hope that this is something for the future, but mainly it's more about how the people are taking it and how normalizing it. And something it shouldn't be normalized, as you, Javid, also said about AI, how easy we can give all information. Just take all information. If we can make our working day for 30 minutes shorter, yeah, take all our work information. So that's what we used for now. So that's also coming from us. I'm gonna say how much we will not talk about state, but consent and normalization and psychology. It's human being, and that's what we need to kind of control and be aware of. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It was, it was a great overview of what everything was going on in the region, of course, and there is a great focus on Azerbaijan, which is really interesting. Unfortunately, I think everyone would agree that it's better to have less surveillance or less actions like this, and to have less things to talk about, but we are here, and thank you so much for sharing your experience, your personal experiences, of course, your research information that you have. I actually have a lot of questions. I don't know how much time do you have, and we all have. But also, if our guests have any questions, you can write them in chat. If you want to ask them with your voice, you can also raise your hand, and we will give you the opportunity to speak up. And so my first question probably was, you're talking about this American model in Georgia, and I was thinking in general, what do you think is more effective nowadays? Is this blockage of internet, or reducing speed for internet? Is it effective, or getting troll farms, getting influencers, and all this kind of stuff, flooding internet with different information works better, or maybe just cutting down the internet and access to social media is effective. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's democracy is effective. I mean, hearing the voice of everyone, hearing the voice of minority, uh, because I mean, this all action is coming from unheardness. It's coming from an awareness that this people are existing in your country, or they're a minority, or they're a majority, or they're in some other way exist. So that's, I think, it's coming from awareness of the democratical processes which just have to happen in your country, and acceptance, and giving the voice to everyone to say what they want, and also have also rights to affect to the system, because the most of the angry voices are the unheard voices. It's the voices which is we ignore.
Thank you. I think that you, in the end, you are talking about messengers and WhatsApp and Facebook, specifically, about using your data to train the AI and basically storing it. And I wonder what is general situation with messengers, especially in Azerbaijan, because, for example, in Ukraine, Telegram is really popular, obviously. At the same time, it's one of two messengers that are only allowed to use on occupied territories by Russia. So another one is a state Max messenger, of course, and then the Telegram. And also from testimonies of people who managed to escape from occupied territories, especially from the newer one from Kherson region, they said that FSB, the Russian security service, had access to their chats on Telegram. So when the people were detained, they would bring them prints from their chat, and they would say like, why you say this, and people were really surprised to have that someone else has this information in their hands. So I wonder if there is anything like this going on in Azerbaijan, or messengers are available. Yeah.
Not really. As I said before, like the state is not controlling internet. State is internet. So like everything what is going unscripted still can be read it and can be accessed not by like reading your messages, but just like faking your number and getting access to your account and having a copy of the things, and then going access to your email and deleting all these cases in 3 a.m. of the morning, for example, when they do. So that's cases it's happened. So in that case, like you don't even feel that they go into your account. So that's working a bit different way. And plus to everything, of course, the Telegram, sadly, as we all not wanted it, but it's not safe place to be. And I believe, to be honest, that for now, it's the WhatsApp is more safe place than the Telegram.
Yeah, I would add that in Azerbaijan, there is only one internet provider, that is the Delta Internet. So all other providers are getting their service from them. So your messages are going through the same tunnel that president's website is on. And as Ilkin said, they can have access to your number, and that's how they can reset your password. That's how actually tons of videos from these Toplum TV YouTube channel were deleted. So their reports were all gone. And it was only thanks to the intervention from US in YouTube data centers that some of them were recovered. That's why it's also one of the major suggestion of mine is to switch to 2FA, that two-factor authentication, that is not tied to your SIM card number. That should be tied to other, like your Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, or to passkey. That is, there are like devices called UBK that you put on the computer as a USB device, and it reads your fingerprint. That is the situation that we are right now in.
Yeah, and well, my next question is probably you already answered, but also maybe if there is something to add about this. So we know that for example, this recent information that X, the former Twitter, increased the number of cooperation with the governments after Musk came into power by a lot. And there were also reports about Facebook complying with requests from authoritarian governments, and even Apple, for example, unlocking devices in China for on the request of the governments whenever they needed some information, which is not actually happening in the US, at least not at least the latest time. Of course, now situation is also really different, but it wasn't the thing. But they would open the access to iPhones for Chinese secret services and stuff like this. So if there is such cooperation going on, or again, maybe it's not needed, as you said previously.
Yeah, they might need, in case that these, let's say if you are criticizing government and you are based off in some other country, not in Azerbaijan. The reason they say that in Azerbaijan internet is free is because they do not block the websites. They go and arrest the editor. That's why the internet is free. Well, so when it comes to in collaboration, it used to be very hard, but right now that Azerbaijan is getting more popular, they have Starlink activated, and they are having deals with this Kaspersky. President meets Kaspersky and others. They are trying to become a transport hub, and this transport hub, it is not only for oil and gas, it's also for information and data. They need to connect Central Asia to the rest of the world, and this includes our data as well. So it is safe to assume that they are already in connection. Like there is a Turkish example that Elon Musk platform, they blocked Ekrem İmamoğlu's the presidential candidate account. And it took a month at least to get it back. But Elon Musk can right now talks about disbanding European Union, but he didn't say anything about Turkey. He said that we have to obey the law.
Yeah, sadly, that's said. We cannot trust any big corporations to secure our data, or that's where secure our passwords or other information for sure. So that's a big problem which we're facing now in general as a worldwide community, because they will not deal with the saying no to whole country, not having Facebook or YouTube or whatever, just because few people to block few people. So they will usually agree with any complaint coming from the state, even they are like ridiculous. And with Azerbaijan also there's cases where this was the things was very few. Maybe there was more, but just few this came out in comparison with other countries. But in general, because they don't have enemies, as Javis said, they can come with other power to shut up the voices in internet and other places. And lately, they also started to like surveillance, and they will always surveillance, but also shut up the sounds, which is not in Azerbaijan anymore, but they are brought by some like proxy, the powers with some people who's living there, with some communities, the diasporas, or actually was just straight for power, just beating up people abroad. So that's also the cases which they facing now.
Thank you so much. Well, it's getting late, especially in Ukraine. Well, I assume in Baku it's even later, of course. So I will probably ask you the last question if no one from the audience has any questions. So this would be a question that the question itself is a topic for a separate event, of course, but maybe you can also give a couple of hints. So you at the end you said that it's important to archive and document everything you do. So I wonder what would be your quick hints about this archival process, especially on that, where you suggest to keep the information so it won't be lost, but at the same time it won't be stored at the big corporations servers that are not reliable.
My suggestion will be like first of all, like to to organize the data, because you can have a lot of data, scattered places, as a people, as a lot of people sending information. So indexing are very important, and where to keep it is not. There is a lot of secure data centers as well, not the big ones and the small ones. And also you can create your own data center at home if you're working with the data. Like will suggest to all the cultural spaces to have one. It's exactly as easy as having the hard drives and the one modem, and you will have a data center in your place. Everyone can connect. So, and this will be your private one. So that I will suggest a lot, and also script, of course, your hard drives which you're using, but by indexing that the first to make your data accessible to one which is needed, and also to make it you can find your data in the end, and this can be in some way usable, because like for researchers, for people, we don't have time for going for years to going through the cultural places or the activist documentation. But yeah, maybe some now AI is helping a lot. It was indexing data. You can use it in like small models. You can you can use from your computer, not even like putting it online if you're much like secure about your data. But yeah, that will be way for your data be forever. And having copies, of course, having backup. This is very important. Yeah.
My suggestion would be on different kinds. Like what Ilkin said, probably research and like private research and private data. But if you, for me, I usually just put them online publicly for everyone to be able to access it, because once it's out there, it's like a virus. It will self-replicate. So even if you get, like, you can get arrested, they can seize your data center, they can seize your CDs, the hard disk, SSDs, whatever. They can brute force or just simply punch you to the death until you say the password. But making it available to everyone, so that even if something happens to you, someone else can publish it for you. That's how WikiLeaks worked. And there is also archive.org. Archive.org is pretty user friendly, and you can just copy a link and paste there, and you can then will be essentially saving a copy of the entire website on archive.org library data center, right? This is one of the best sources, and I would say this as an alternative, and it is that easy. I prefer the second one, to make it like my data public, so that everyone can just easily copy and paste it, download it.
But that's also part of what I want to say. Like it's making information ready to publish. That is the work also. So to make it somewhere to ready to publish, index it somehow to make it ready, not just a mess of hundreds of gigabytes of whatever.
Yeah, I know if you saw this, there was this, one of the latest interviews of Linus Torvalds, the author of Linux kernel, and he said that I just put stuff on internet and people save it because it's precious, and he doesn't do backups. People do it for him because whatever he does is important for society. Thank you so much. I think we'll be ending our discussion at this point. Again, it was really interesting. We had people from all over the world, including the US and UK. So I'm really happy about the whole discussion. Stay strong, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Have a nice, safe, and peaceful evening. And goodbye.